guys, how are you? And welcome to another Triad edition. This Triad is one that's on hedonism. And I really want to encourage you to really spend some time praying and reflecting on your own life before you get together with your brothers and sisters to talk about this. Because I think this is a great trap. Because in the world that we live in today, this idea of giving ourselves pleasure, relaxation, enjoyment, that is held in high regard. But I do believe that there are pitfalls and there's a very dark side to this concept of hedonism that, let me tell you, is ruining many lives. What I want you to do in this triad discussion is to go back to the first century. Don't compare yourself to yourself. Compare yourself to Jesus Christ in the first century. Let's go back to the first century. Wow! Here we are on the streets of Jerusalem. Yes, this is the old city Jerusalem, the very pavement that many first century disciples walked. And the reason I want us in this environment is because I really want us to reflect on our life, not compare ourselves to the world, not compare ourselves to ourselves, but to compare ourselves to Jesus Christ. In this series, Set Apart, we want to reflect on the holiness of God and be inspired by that, understanding that we are set apart just like that. And in order to do that, we've got to be humble. We've got to be real. We've got to be willing to get open and honest about the temptations that Satan is throwing our way. In this triad discussion, there's three basic phases. One, understanding that God has created things for our own good. God has created things for our own benefit and for our own pleasure, and that is good. The second aspect is we'll look at Solomon, and quite frankly, Solomon, he did not discourage himself from anything pleasurable, and there is a very dark side to that, and we will see that in the scriptures. And then thirdly, what about us? What are the pitfalls? What are the challenges? What are the things that really are tempting us in this concept of seeking pleasure? We need to talk about drinking. Drinking. I think too many of us as disciples think, I don't drink a lot. But we look more like the world than we do Jesus Christ. And I think disciples, we've got to be willing and honest to say, yes, I do enjoy this. Yes, this is nice, but this is not Christ-likeness. Jesus is our standard. And we need to look at our life and compare it to Jesus and ask ourselves the question, is this how Jesus would enjoy the alcohol that I'm enjoying? Smoking, cigars in particular, things of that nature. We also need to talk about the whole concept of these hobbies and things that are in our lives. Listen, God wants us to enjoy life. That's in the first part of this section. But are we consumed with pleasure in ourselves and have lost the mission mentality that Christ has called us to? It is in this third section, guys, we got to get open and honest about the temptations we feel. And in this openness, let me tell you something. When we get open, it's not just, I struggle with that too. But we've got to get real and go, man, how do you think God feels about where I'm at? And then we've got to offer help, support, text, scriptures, things that we've done to overcome the same temptations that maybe others have had. Why? Our standard is God, the holiness of God. I do believe that our church is being transformed. I'm so excited about the discipling that's going on in our church. More and more disciples are being transformed through loving, helpful, supportive, one another relationships. Let us continue in this vein. And in that, I do believe that God will transform us into the holiness of God. And the more we become like God, the more we see life like God. And we will go out and change this world for the Lord. Hey, I love you. I'm with you. Let's continue in what God has started in our hearts. Have an incredible day.